Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale. In this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to share with you how to make some delicious Italian fig cookies, also known as cuccidati. They're probably a little bit different than the traditional cuccidati just because those are a very specific like Sicilian cookie, and these are like the Naples version. They're so phenomenal. I already made a batch of these and they're in the freezer because they freeze really well, and I can bake them off last minute when guests come around because it's a little bit more labor intensive. It's not as easy as like a sugar dough or like a sugar cookie or chocolate chip. So if I can get them ahead of time, if I can get them done ahead of time, then I will. Let me run you through the list of ingredients for what you'll need for the filling. I've got some nuts here. You can use almonds, walnuts, pecans, whatever. I like to use pecans because that's what I typically tend to use this time of year. I've got some dried figs here. I like using dry. I've never made this recipe with fresh figs because they're impossible to get this time of year. I've got a little bit of brandy here. You don't have to use it, but a little shot of something strong works really well. Some vanilla, you'll need some water, you'll need some orange, and you'll need some honey. Those are the ingredients you'll need to make the filling, and then I'll show you the dough in just a little bit. It's super simple and easy. Everything just kind of goes into the pot with the exception of the nuts. What I'm gonna do to my figs, I just kind of break them apart a little bit with a knife just so that they break down a little bit easier. Just sort of cut through halves or quarters, nothing too picky here. And if you want to make this portion the day before you make these, you absolutely can. It would even be better because the longer it sits, the better it'll be for you to use it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add this in here. Like I said, everything but the nuts. Everything is just going to be phenomenal. It's like slightly spicy, but not really. I mean, spice in terms of like the cloves and the cinnamon and the zest of the citrus. It's fantastic. You'll need the brandy, whatever you want to use, the water, and you'll just need the zest and juice of half of an orange. And then all I'm going to do, oh my goodness, it smells so good already. There's something about a little booze and a little citrus with some honey that just smells like the holidays. And a good splash of vanilla. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to simmer this a good 20 minutes. I want the figs to be nice and soft, and then we're going to let them sit and just cool completely. In the meantime, because our dough has to rest for an hour, it's a perfect time to get it going. It's really easy, but it is phenomenal. You're going to just love these cookies. I know it. So let me grab my stuff, and we'll make the dough. All right, to make the dough, you'll need all-purpose flour, you'll need salt, cinnamon, cloves, egg, butter and shortening, regular sugar, brown sugar, vanilla. You'll need a little bit of milk, which I have right here, and the zest of half an orange and the zest of a whole lemon. I got it all out. I'm gonna make this in my standing mixer. Like I always say, it needs to pay for itself. It's very expensive. Put both kinds of sugar in, the shortening and the butter. Now in some cases I've seen this recipe where they use all shortening, but I like to use a mixture of both, and I'm just going to cream these together until they're well combined. I'm just grating in the orange zest. I used the other half of the orange in the filling, so I'm just going to use this one. I hate zesting oranges when they're already cut, but you know, or citrus in general when it's already cut, but waste nothing, you know what I'm saying? Sous Chef is in here today, which I know you're terribly upset about that. She thought she was too good for us. She was like, bye. I'm like, okay, see you later. She's like, make sure you get that work done. I'm like, fine, boss, fine. That lemon as well. These are so wonderful and very much like the rococo that I've made, or the mostaccioli, which are very classic Napolitan cookie, pastry, whatever, to have at Christmas. You've got to have the cloves running through it, and you've got to have the citrus running through it. It's just a complete must, and it just adds that special touch of scent that I grew up with, and I just love it. So I'm going to add that, the lemon, and a good splash of vanilla, and I'm going to get those going for just a minute to incorporate them. Add in the dry ingredients, and once the dry ingredients are incorporated, then you're going to add a little bit of milk. You don't want the mixture to be crumbly, so you want to make sure that you're adding a little bit at a time. You'll need about a 1/4 cup of milk until you feel like the dough is really supple and like comes together really beautifully. So I'm just going to keep an eye on that. It's already starting to come together, so I'm just going to drizzle in my milk. It'll be sticky and it'll be tacky, but that's fine because you need it to be, because it's going to go in the fridge for a while so that you can roll it out. Once you get the dough out, because it'll be really sticky and stuff in the mixer, this is what I do. You just take a tiny little bit of flour and you just kind of pull it together, and this is what you want it to look like. It should not crumble. It's really soft and beautiful. If it crumbles, that means that when you go to shape them, when you go to roll it out, it won't hold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in some plastic wrap, and I'm going to pop it into the fridge for about an hour or until it's firm enough to handle. Now listen, you can keep this in the fridge for days, but it's going to become hard as a rock. So keep it out for like an hour. Bring it out to room temperature for like an hour in that case, because it's been in there for so long, until it just becomes soft enough so that you can work with it. Don't feel like you have to make everything last minute, because that's not going to ever happen, especially at the holidays, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to keep my eye out on the figs. In about 20 minutes or so, I'm going to turn those off, and I'm going to let those sit in their juices and in the glorious, lovely mixer there, a mixture of yumminess, until it's cooled. And then we'll pretty much do everything at the last minute to pull it together. Okay, so this was it's been sitting for a bit. It simmered for about 20 minutes, and as it cools, you can see, if you look in here, it's really sticky and syrupy, and that is exactly what you are looking for. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be tricky because it is super sticky. That was a funny rhyme, and you know it. I'm going to add all of this in here, along with the nuts, and then, oopsie daisy, man, it does not want to go in there. That is so good. To get things going, I like to add just a small splash of orange juice. Not much, a couple tablespoons, but it really gets things moving along, because you want this to be easy to pipe out into your cookies. So add the nuts in, and now I'm just going to blend this until it's pureed, basically. I took the crust, the cookie dough, out of the fridge about 10 minutes ago, so that should be ready. Oven preheated to 350, so we're in business. That looks fantastic. I'm going to just set that aside until I need it. Now I'm going to work with half the dough at a time. It's just much easier to do it that way, and you're going to want to make sure you've got some flour on hand, because this is quite a sticky dough. And I'm just looking for like a rectangle about 8 inches by 14, I would say. That sounds about right. So I'm just going to do that, and I'll show you the next step when we get there. What I like to do is I just like to trim my sides so that they're nice and even. There we go. Which, if you know me, then you know nothing's going to be even, because that's just not how I roll. But it just makes it a little bit easier. And then what you do, oops, cut this in half. Okay. I took my filling and I placed it in like a resealable bag, and then you just run it right down like so. Same thing here. Not too thick. I'm just trimming a little bit of the sides because I don't want too much dough. Okay, and then you take a little bit of water. You run it along the sides like so. And then if you just take a small spatula or a knife to help you sort of guide you along, you're gonna fold those over like so, right? And let that sit for a second, and we'll work on the second one. And then you just cut them to however small or big you like them. I like a couple inches. They're cute little pockets of goodness. And that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to continue to cut the rest of them. I'm going to pop these in the freezer for 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, you're going to pop them in a 350-degree oven for around 10 minutes or so, or until the edges are a beautiful golden brown color. I'll show you what they look like when they're done. But at this point, if you wanted to, just like I like to do, you can make them and then pop them in the freezer until you're ready to bake them. And then when you go to bake them, just add a few more minutes and you can just bake them from frozen, which is fabulous. So I'm gonna go do that and I'll show you what they look like when they're done, and then we'll glaze them really quickly with a super easy glaze that's very delicious. My cookies were in the freezer for 10 minutes and I popped them in a 350-degree oven for like 15 more minutes. When the edges start to look golden brown, then you know you're in good shape and you want to let them cool for a bit. Well, you want to let them cool completely. This was one batch. The rest I will make another day. For the glaze, you just need powdered sugar and orange juice. That's it. And I like to have these little Christmas sprinkles there to add on top for a little cheer. Whoa. And you just add some freshly squeezed orange juice to some powdered sugar. And I just add a little bit at a time. You'll probably need the juice close to a whole orange. Just need a few tablespoons. This is also for a little glaze. It's not like you're going ham here. You want to make sure it's not too thick. Lovely. You want it to be quite thin. It's just going to be a very, very light coating on each cookie. I just do a little bit of that. When you add your little bit of glaze, you want to make sure that you sprinkle your your little sprinkles here while the glaze is wet so it sticks. And I kind of like just doing a little bit of it because you really don't need the extra sweetness, but it does make them really nice and festive. And then as the glaze hardens, it just becomes like a little shell of sweetness on top. Amazing. Amazing. Dry figs for me, very Christmassy. They're perfect. One of my favorites, one of Joe's favorites as well. Go to laurainthekitchen.com, get this recipe. You'll love them. I know you do. I know you will. I will see you next time. Bye. 350-degree oven for 15 minutes until why can't I talk today?